Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is another guest choice review, and with me I got Channel 66. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm ready
Alrighty.
for this.
Yep. And he chose A League of Their Own, which is it's actually one of my top movies from when I was a kid, for personal reasons and other. I enjoyed the movie as a kid, but I also will discuss a little bit of the personal part of it when we get going. So before we do, I do want to say that if anybody here wants to, well, first, RBI that like button. So, yeah. And second, if you do want to join the guest choice reviews or come on for a guest choice review, you get to pick the time, you get to pick the movie, you get to pick the place, or, well, not the place, but the date and time. So, yeah, if you want to come on, you pick time, date, movie. The only place you come is onto my channel so that we can discuss it. And it's meant for your convenience, the guest's convenience. So, getting into guest choice of A League of Their Own. So, first off, this movie was done in 1992, directed by Penny Marshall. And one of the things that is the personal account, I saw this movie in 92 after it had gone on to or come out on video. And then a couple years later, I think when I was like 9, so like 3 years later, or no, 2 years later, I was 7 when the movie came out. And my dad took us down to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And we saw the Women's Baseball Hall of Fame section. They even had the little bits from the movie still there. And I was looking at all the rosters of the original teams. And one woman was looking or came up to me and she's like, "Would you like to meet one of the original players from that time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that would be cool." I was 8 or 9 at the time. And so she shows me a name, Dolly Konwinski. And I'm like, "Who's that?" She's like, "Well, that's me." And I'm like, I was just so stunned that I was actually meeting one of the people who helped make history, who was part of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And sadly, she has passed since. She passed a few years ago. I believe it was 2017. And she was a second and third baseman for the team she played for, which I couldn't remember, or I can't remember exactly which one, but I can actually pull it up. So, Dolly. There it is. Because I actually was looking her profile up again. But yeah, she went by, or her name at the time when I met her was Dolly Konwinski, because she had gotten married at the time. And she played, or her hometown is Chicago, Illinois. She played for the Chicago Colleens, the Springfield Sallies, the Grand Rapid Chicks, Battle Creek Bells, Grand Rapid Chicks again, and the Grand Rapid Chicks again. From 48 to 52, she played. She was infield positions, second and third base, in all these different years. Now, for many of those who do not know, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League survived for 13 years. However, there was a danger that it would shut down because its original purpose was to provide some sort of entertainment during World War II. But because we started winning the war, they ended up thinking about shutting it down because they weren't needed anymore. Well, this movie does kind of describe that, yes, in entertainment detail. It probably does also have a little bit of entertainment embellishment. But this movie does have some historical significance because it was something that was historically great for feminists and women everywhere. It showed that women were more than just at-home wives in the kitchen. It showed that women could do great things and were part of something very special. So, with that, what did you, or brief thoughts, what did you think of the movie Channel 66?
It's probably been a good, I want to say 20 years since I've watched this movie. So rewatching it, now with a more critical eye and a little more understanding of what goes on or what went into it, and even what the actual significance of it was. It's, it has a how to say it, it stirs an emotion in me, especially towards the end, because I'm still I've watched it 2 or 3 times this week, and the ending of it, I still can't figure out if the older sister threw the game or not.
That is the question.
Yeah, I'm so like I want to know. I would love if there's something out there where they, say the director said something, or I would just like to know. And it just, like I said, it just it brings like that just good warm feeling of just that good movies do, and not just that, but also good movies about what you. I'm not sure if baseball is still our national pastime, but what used to be our national pastime.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, I'm actually not much of a sports person. I used to be a sports person when I was a kid. I used to watch baseball, football, all of it on TV. I used to love it, watching my favorite players play and whatnot. Back in the 90s was the last great generation of sports, in my opinion, because then in the 2000s and onward, it just became more of a job to people and less of a pastime. And it also became more of a political game in the last decade. And it's like, now I have absolutely no interest in it. But back when I was younger, I played basketball, I played baseball, I played football. Not in high school. I played it out in the road. Back when kids could play in the road and play sports and whatnot. We didn't play 2-hand touch. We played 4-hand touch. And a lot of people are like, how do you play 4-hand touch? You tag them twice, or you tag them 4 times. However, whatever combination it is, you do it so that you touch a person 4 times before they're down. 2-hand touch is too easy, in my opinion. But in this movie starts, it was a Columbia Pictures movie, and it had a great cast. Back when Madonna wasn't so psychotic and much of a terrorist, but you also had Rosie O'Donnell before, well, she started going crazy at the time. You also had Lori Petty. You have the genius, Gina Davis. I mean, when I say that woman is a genius, she is a literal genius. She's part of Mensa. You have the great actor Tom Hanks, who is an asshole in real life, but he is a good actor. He is a great actor.
Like, oh my gosh, watching him in this, it reminded me how just good he was back then. And in
the 90s, he was one of the best actors out there.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. I was just gonna say, I had forgotten that. Like, I want to say that this was before he became big, but then I looked back at his history and I was like, no, he had several movies before this that it's just amazing. And for, as I would say, little of lines that he has, and probably even as little screen time as he has, it's
memorable.
Yeah,
it really is. And also, Ira Lowenstein, the younger version of him, was played by David Strathairn. Now, a lot of people are like, who the heck is David Strathairn? Well, if you've seen the Godzilla Monsterverse movies, he played one of the generals. He was the one with the buzz cut and gray hair. And he also played in The Bourne Ultimatum, where he was one of the CIA peeps, and a few other movies. But he still had a very good role in this movie. He was a person who, in this movie, fought for the Women's Baseball League to continue after it was being planned that they were going to shut it down. So the movie starts out with an older Dottie Hinson going to the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame because they were going to open the Women's Baseball Hall of Fame part. And I love the little dynamic that she has with her family, how she's packing and her daughter throws in the glove and they're like, people probably won't even recognize me. The Queen of Diamonds, Dottie Hinson, they're going to recognize you, Mom. You may have only played for one season, but you still made a hell of a name for that season and for the league. And one thing I noticed was that was Gina Davis's voice. Now, I don't think that was Gina Davis with older makeup, but let me actually look it up. Who played old Dottie in A League of Their Own? I believe it was Lynn Cartwright.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of the original women's baseball players to play the older versions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tried to, I believe they actually tried to match the actresses that they had to play those characters. They tried to get the perfect people to play a passable younger versions of them.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually brilliant casting if you think about it. I mean, Tia Leone, who's also a great actress in her own right nowadays, she also had a very small part in the movie where I believe she played for the Racine Bells.
Okay.
And she played, or for those of you who don't know Tia Leone, she's in Madam Secretary, that show that I guess was supposed to be an allegory on Hillary Clinton. But I thought it was entertaining for a little bit. And then there's she was in Jurassic Park 3, the third one, the god awful one. But yeah, so she doesn't want to go. She just lost her husband like over the winter. She doesn't want to go. She doesn't even know if her sister will be there. And she's nervous. She's afraid to go. And her her daughter's like, "Oh, Ma, I understand. But you're still going." I love that where she's smiling at her daughter, and then her daughter's like, "But you're still going." Oh.
Oh yeah.
And I love that
whole
scene.
dynamic. Yeah, it was great. I like the one that's right after too with their grandkids and they're playing basketball.
Yep.
And she tells the older one, go easy on your brother. He's smaller than you. And then tells the younger one, kill him.
Yeah.
It's great.
And so we then see the small bus ride that she goes on. She arrives and everybody else gets off and goes left to the main entrance. She goes right. She just walks in and she's seeing all the female baseball players playing. You see some of the women that you will know who they are later in the film, but you understand that these were the originals. These were the original women's or all American girls baseball players. And then we get to the montage in the 40s of why the AAPG or the AAG PBL was created. And it was created because the draft happened in World War II. All of the professional women or professional baseball players, the men, were going overseas to play. And DiMaggio, I believe, was also sent over. And they're like, well, Harvey or Walter Harvey, the candy bar king, has talked with owners of other baseball clubs and decided to do women's baseball. So then we get an introduction to Dottie and her sister playing in their own home in Oregon. And we see John Lovitz is in the stands. And I love how these shots establish this movie was actually directed very methodically and very well done, where certain angles, certain shots, they do a good job at establishing, okay, this person's going to be important. This person will have some significance. You even see a shot of Kit, played by Lori Petty, standing, getting ready to go up, and there is a buy bullet bonds ad on a billboard. So they're really selling that this is during World War II, because back then you did have the bullet bonds going. And we see a bit of the game that they're playing. They're playing like amateur league ball for women. And Dottie and Kit's relationship is established pretty well, where Kit is the older one. She's trying to help her sister out, but her sister's pig-headed. She's stubborn. She doesn't want to listen all the time. And she's telling her, lay off the high ones. She's getting them every time. I like the high ones. Mule, Mag. It's a lovely little dynamic between the sisters.
Love that line.
And oh, look at that. Tim Talk's here.
Tim!
He's here for Channel 66 hot co-host with purple hair.
He's missing
colored
my VTube.
Yeah. Speaking of colored hair, folks, it came in today. So the that 1,000 or that 1K celebration stream is it's gonna be happening Wednesday. So stay tuned. It's gonna be 6 hours long. Everybody's invited on. I'm going to be rotating panelists because I'm probably going to have a few people on. And so but back to the movie. She gets up there and she chokes. Kit chokes. She doesn't lay off the high ones, and then she lets a perfect pitch go right down the middle, and she doesn't swing because she thought it was going to be another high one. Well, then you see John Lovitz laughing it up. Are Raylo's invited? Yes, you're even invited too. Not that we're going to be talking much about Star Wars, but yes, you're invited too. Tim's talk. So Dottie comes up and she doesn't fall for the high pitch, and then they pitch again and she cranks it out of the park, allowing 2 more runs to come in because it's bottom of the whatever. They didn't do 9 innings. I'm guessing they probably did 7 or 5 to 7. And she gets them all in. They win, and everybody's cheering Dottie. Well, you also have the hecklers who are, the sexism is very apparent in this movie, folks. This movie is a hit and miss when it comes to, if it was viewed today by PC culture, shall we say, this movie would be hit and miss. This movie would piss off the feminists, but also would also be good for the feminists, because this was first wave feminism, this film. However, nowadays, modern day feminism, the 4th or 5th wave, what wave are we on?
Who knows?
Feminazi. The feminazi wave. The wave where they're not looking for equality, they're looking for superiority. Those ones would be pissed off because there are scenes where these women were married. Some of these women are married. Dottie Henson is married. Betty Spaghetti is married. And Marla Hooch gets married. And other characters who are getting into things with men. Well, they don't show any lesbianism or anything like that in this film. There's no freaking non-binary because that's a delusion. There's none of that stuff in this film. But this film does send a very strong pro-female message that women can be more than just sitting in the kitchen waiting for the men to come home from the war. So, yeah. And what did you think of the following scene where the sisters are basically walking home, kicking, or Kit's all pissed off, kicking rocks, and they have to, or they end up running into the barn to do their chores? What did you think about that scene?
It was just a really wholesome scene. They just came from playing a hard game. They were both still covered in dirt, and they're coming home. They both got their gloves. There's a little sibling route. They're like always competing against each other. And they're really establishing that Dottie is what you would call a Mary Sue, because she is very much a perfect character in this movie, to where she has almost no faults, and they almost highlight that to such an extent that when we get to the end of it, it almost seems unbelievable. Whereas Kit is more the character that needs to do the growing and needs to, kind of get to her level.
Yeah,
But
she's
go
actually, well, a lot of people don't realize she's the hero of this film.
Yeah.
Kit is. It's Kit's story.
Yeah. And I like the end when you like, I ain't gonna spoil it just yet, but the ending where you see her at the end, and it's like, wow, okay. Like she was able to do everything that she was telling her sister that she could do the entire time.
Yep.
But yeah, just back to that scene. Yeah, it's just a nice rivalry and showing that they're getting down. They're doing their chores. They're milking the cows. They're just.
And then the scout comes in.
Yeah, Mr. John Lovitz.
Yep.
I don't think anyone could have probably played that off better than him, because he just seems to fit in that time period.
At that time, absolutely.
Actor. Yeah.
John Lovitz, holy crap. I'm pretty sure that if he did comedy today, he'd be booed off stage for not being woke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the amount of sexism coming off of John Lovitz in this movie, in the limited time that he was in this movie, would make so many heads explode.
Oh, especially when they talk to Marla, or when they get to the point with Marla. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I was like, doesn't that hurt them? Doesn't seem to. Well, it certainly bruised the hell out of me. It's like, boy, you really think highly of yourself, don't you, sir? And he's like, I'm here on behalf of Walter Harvey. Harvey bars? Yeah, we give them to the cows when they're constipated. Yeah, okay, well, you know about him. That's good. He does. Even when they dig back at him, he has something to throw back.
And he's got that straight face, straight lace humor to where it's like you can't crack him. It's great.
Oh, this is pretty cool. Dude, it's the news. Thank you for coming on. She actually came on yesterday, folks, to talk Transformers 86.
Oh, cool.
From the Guest Choice Reviews. And she actually saw John Lovitz stand up in Portland 3 years ago. They loved him. So perverse. Yeah, I believe she actually said on Twitter earlier, because she actually talks with me on Twitter and whatnot, that he recited a lot of his lines from A League of Their Own.
Oh, wow.
In that act.
It's awesome.
But yeah, it's like, and he wants Dottie because Dottie saved the day. The one who hit the ball. I don't want you. I want her. The one who hit the ball. You can climb back under the cow. And I just love how he delivers it. And Dottie comes to her. Hey, she's like, she's good. She's very good. She's a pitcher. She just didn't pitch today because she pitched the day before. Well, thank you for that enlightening story into her life. I want you. You I saw, you I like. Also, you're a bit of a doll, and that's kind of... We're also kind of looking for that too. Oh, I see. Well, sir, I'm a married woman. My husband's overseas. And he's like, yes, I understand. It's looky, no touchy. And he's like, so what, or I can't remember what it was that pissed him off. And he's like, well, you going to do it? And he's like, no. Well, fine, no skin off of my back. So long, milkmaids. And she's like, you know something? You're not nice. Oh, that hurt. I said, or like we said, he can give it, they can give it back. He doesn't care.
They also had the line where they asked him how much money that they'd be making.
All right,
he was like, $75.
They'll
And
pay you
like,
$75 a week.
We only make 35 at the dairy. Well, then this is more, isn't it?
Wouldn't it? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that line.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is basically that, to give you guys an idea. $75 back then was basically $150 to 200 now. Just to give you an idea.
And from what I was to understand, that was actually pretty comparative to what they were playing the professional male baseball players at the time too.
The males were actually making about 100 to 150, depending on depending on the name. DiMaggio, Ruth, they were making exorbitant amounts of money.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruth and Gehrig were pretty good. They were making boatloads. Ruth got lost in the money. But he also was a national hero too.
Right.
But getting back to the movie, he starts walking out and Kit goes out. She's like, hey, what? And so he's like, look, she's the good, or we're looking for the goods and she's the goods. I'm sorry. Puts his hand on her shoulder. Will you shut up? There's a cow that moves in the background, and that is actually, as you were discussing, we were discussing this behind this or before the stream. So actually, I'll let you take it away on that one, discussing that.
So the director, she apparently really liked throwing improv into her movies, and Lovitz was trying to deliver his line. And he told her that, hey, can you do something about the cows? I can't deliver the line. And she tells him, she's like, tell the cows to shut up. So he told them to shut up and she left it in.
Yeah. And I love that. And he's like, I'll tell you what, if she comes, you can come too. If you stink, it only costs us a train ticket. And then he's like, get these filthy vermin away from me. Haven't you ever heard of a leash? Leashes on chickens, folks. Leashes on chickens. Yeah. So we then get to the scene inside the house later on. They're putting food on the table and whatnot. And Kit, this is her one chance to do something special. One chance to be a part of something greater than herself. Because she's nothing there. And she even says it. It's like, I got to get out of here, Dottie. I'm nothing here. And even her mom yells at her. It's like, for God's sakes, keep your voice down, Kit. Your father's listening to the radio. And that's also how her father basically treats Kit. This is our daughter, Dottie. And this is our other daughter, Dottie's sister. And it's like, wow. If I would, honestly, I would never treat my kids that way. All my kids would be equal. I would see my kids as equal if I ever had kids. Hopefully that will one day happen. But anyway, she finally agrees. And then we're seeing on the train, John Lovitz is talking to one of the guys who's whose company's making a fortune off of the war, or 106% growth or during wartime. And he's like, you know what? If I had your job, I'd shoot myself. Stay here. Let's see if I can go dig up a pistol. And I love the song they got. It's the 50s Choo Choo song.
Oh
or the
yeah.
40s choo choo song.
Clickety clack.
Yep, clickety clack.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to remember how it
What
went.
year was that song?
Yeah, they had a lot of. That's the other thing. They had a lot of good music that went throughout this as well.
Year. What year did it come out? Well, the song Clickety Clack. Song. Year of release. I don't think that's it, because it says 1989. But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure or somebody else could find it better than me. So he's like, well, I'll give them this much. They can run. And then he goes to see how well they're doing. And this woman's like, sir, your knee. Like it? Like I said, folks, he was beyond perverse and sexist, and he just didn't care. And so Dottie gets her sister on the train and whatnot, and then gets herself on the train. Did you promise the cows you'd write? So then we get introduced to Marla Hooch, because they have to stop in, I think it was Colorado, to take a look at Marla Hooch. And
I think that's right.
Yeah, Marla Hooch, Fort Collins, Colorado. Yeah. And Marla Hooch is hitting balls out of a gym, breaking windows, making the guys just look like they're amateurs. And then she switches over to left-handed, and you see the guys visibly cringe. They're like, oh, God. It's like, okay, so I'm guessing she's a very good left-handed hitter. She's a switch hitter. And you see how Kit and Dottie are like, she's very good. Well, then the scout calls her over. She takes off her hat. Well, she's not exactly the most prettiest looking woman. And you see John Lovitz literally, he's like, and he's like, and we'll let you know. Come on, get your suitcase. We gotta go. What's wrong? She's very good. You ever hear of General Omar Bradley? Yeah. Well, there's two strong resemblances. You mean you're taking her because she isn't pretty? Well, look who decided to catch up. And they go full defiant. They're fully defiant. Pick those suitcases up. Come on, one roll in front of the other. Hey, mister. Huh? It's like, how dare this mortal freaking come up to me? What? Huh? And her father's plea is just so freaking heartfelt. You literally shed a tear listening to him. He's like, I raised her as if she were a boy. She loves to play. Do not penalize, or do not make my girl, or do not punish her because I raised her wrong. Okay, then she's able to go. We go to the next scene. She's getting ready to go, and her father's telling her got to lace up or get a new mitt and whatnot. She's like, maybe I shouldn't go. He's like, no, we'll relace it. Now, she asks him, she's like, well, what about the person, or who's going to take care of you, help clean the equipment, or help you with the equipment and whatnot? And he's like, you don't worry about me. You're going to go play baseball. There's nothing happens here. You got to go where the things happen. And I absolutely love that line, you know?
Oh yeah. Like that whole scene from that point to where they drop showing like, hey, where they drop their suitcases saying, look, she can play, you're going to take. That's already showing some good camaraderie there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, back to the feminist aspect as well, like women sticking together.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with her father too, it like me being a dad as well, I could just imagine if that was my only kid and I didn't have my wife, how I would raise my own kids. I still kind of raise my own kids like more
Yeah.
like boys than girls. But yeah, it's a like this movie is just such a roller coaster ride, and we're like 20 minutes into it, 30 minutes into a 2 hour
Yeah.
movie, and it's already had so many ups and downs, and it's crazy how well it's just everything just works together.
Mm-hmm. And so then we get to the field. I mean, they cut it from there to the field, but also you have John Lovitz before she gets on the train. She's like, "You say it's a train." You say the train moves, not the station. And it's like, oh my God, man. Hey, Gunkman, thank you for stopping in, buddy.
Yeah.
And thank you for the congrats. Onward to monetization. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, man. And so then we get to the tryouts, and we get to Walter Harvey's field. And he's like, "Okay, well, that's all for me. Do your best and don't embarrass me." What? You're going? Oh, dry your eyes. Just gonna go home, shower, shave, give my wife a little tickle of the pickle, and that'll be all. Good day. Yeah, but field tryouts. Bam! I hate it when they get attached to me like that. Subhuman, good to see you. Yes, we're gonna get to that one too. But I love that line. But we'll get to it when we get to it.
There is a little subtle thing that happens when they get to the field too. Now, the first time that you see them playing ball, you notice that they're doing underhand pitch, which is commonly softball with the bigger ball and everything. Now, when they get to the Tryouts field, they're throwing overhanded.
And there was actually one girl who does do the underhanded pitch. And the coach stops her. She's like, "I know you're used to it, but you got to throw overhand. This is an overhand league."
Yeah, that was actually one of the significant things in the actual, women's baseball, where I think the line was they look like ladies but play like men.
Yeah.
So the actual women's baseball, they wanted them playing actual man's baseball with the same circumference ball as the male baseball players, running, sliding, hitting, all that stuff. But they wanted them to look like ladies.
Yeah.
Which does get very significant and very soon, actually.
Mm-hmm. And we get introduced to pre-terrorist Madonna. Let's just say that. This is Madonna back when she was at the height of her career, doing great songs, and she wasn't threatening to blow up the White House. So her and Rosie O'Donnell, before Rosie O'Donnell went nuts, because she's been crazy as well. But anyway, Rosie is balancing her bat on her thumb. She's like, "So what?" Or so, well, wait, I'm not done yet. And she flips the bat, and she's like, "How long you been working on?" About a year, including those 2 months I was in the hospital, and the bat knocked me right in the head. Bam. Yeah. Well, it looks like it knocked you in the behind because that looks pretty swollen. And that sets off Rosie. And it's like, it's a good freaking line. It's brilliantly delivered. It's funny as hell. And while people are going to be like, well, that is kind of just rude to say to somebody. Well, she does give her shit for it. Well, what kind of thing is that, man? And the girls are looking, and the other two are looking at her, and they're like, "What are you looking at?" "Yeah, what are you looking at?" "Nothing." "Yeah. So are these girls going to be in a league?" "You wish. You do wish." And they tell them that there's going to be 64 girls or that they're accepting 64 girls out of all the other ones. And so she's like, we pretty much got everything. So some of you are going to have to leave. "What do you mean somebody? Or what do you mean some of us?" "Do it." Whips the fastball. And that's the famous scene from the movie. One of the famous scenes from the movie where she whips the ball and she's like, I did that when I was a kid, folks. It hurts. It hurts. Yeah. That is not something that you really want to try doing a lot of. Catching a fastball with your bare hand, you better hope you got calluses. Let's just say that. And she's like, okay, maybe some of them are going home. How did you do that? Hey, I'm talking to you. Hello? Doris? What time did you go with the band? We better go practice. And then we get the practicing montage. And you see many of the faces in the movie. You see Ellen Sue, you see Betty Spaghetti, you see Shirley Baker doing a little bit before we find out that she can't read.
Yeah.
And many of the others. And you see how well Dottie is as a catcher, where the previous catcher has to throw to second base. Well, that's one of the big tests for a catcher. Can you throw to second base off a pitch and get it to second base? Well, the first one gave a couple bounces. She whips it, and the second baseman is like, ow.
Yeah, and did you notice the other catchers kind of look like, oh, crap.
Yeah, you see the Racine Bell one who ends up playing for Racine. She's like, yikes. She's a farm girl. She probably does have calluses. There you go.
Right?
Right? Yeah. Most likely. Yeah. Most likely. So we then see let's see here. They start putting up the lists for the teams, and it's like, your name's going to be on one of those 5 lists. Okay, go find your name. And you see the celebrations, and then the coach who's going to be coaching for Racine notices that one girl's still looking. And well, he's like, well, can you read and whatnot? And Helen one of the ladies who's a Rockford Peach goes up. She's like, can you read, honey? She's like, no. Well, all right, let's just check it out. And she's like, what's your name? Shirley Baker. And so she goes to look, and she sees that she's on Rockford Peaches. And I absolutely love that scene.
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of those. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's one of those, it's one of those nice scenes that's such a nice little touch to the times, because, education was not important in those times. I still have grandparents that were growing up during that when they were kids, and it was like, no, you worked on the farms or you helped out the family, and in most cases some ladies when they were younger they started families but to help out, well, not really to help out, but to have kids to help out the males who would work the farms. Yeah. And just it's not surprising that there's not somebody that would not be able to read, and just throwing that just one little scene in there was great. It
was great at telling that there were women who couldn't always, or that didn't know how to read because of the limitations of the time, and because women were not as valued as they are today.
Right.
And so then we have this they end up talking to, or the coach continues, and they show him the outfit. And the women are like, what? You want us to, how are we supposed to slide? I mean, there's no pot, it's awfully short. Short, I'm going to have to squat in that thing. And then Ira Lowenstein comes up, and you hear some of the women are like, excuse me, sir, excuse me. Ladies, you don't play ball in this, you don't play ball with us. There are right now 38 girls who are going home who would play in a bathing suit if I asked them. And, well, there's no pockets full of cigarettes. There is no smoking. There's also no drinking and no men. No, freaking Madonna's getting ready to get up and quit. She's like, oh, fuck this, I'm out. And so freaking Doris, Rosie sits her down, and she's like, and they're like, you'll also be taking, each one of you will also be going to Charms and Beauty School. What's that? Every woman here is going to learn how to be a lady. And Marla's reaction is like, says it all. Gracefully and grandly, gracefully and you see the charge of beauty school.
Oh man.
And sit. Feet together. Remember, a lady reveals nothing. The freaking kid starts cracking up, and her sister's like, "Shut up!" Ah! And they're doing with the books on the heads, walking. They're with their books on their head, like this. Well, I can't do it, but standing, walking around with the books on the head, doing all that, and then they do or they go up to the women and they're like, hair softened and shortened, eyebrows thin and separate. There should be two. Very nice, lovely, great, beautiful. And then they get to Marla. What do you suggest? A lot of night games. And Marla doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do. And then, or there was the other part where they're like, and sip, don't slurp. And sip, don't slurp. Rosie O'Donnell's just munching on freaking food while she's using the tea to suck it down. Stop that. Hey, what? It's good shit. Sorry, had to slurp. Don't slurp. Exactly. And it's just so freaking great. They are something that I forgot to say because it was a minor thing back there, was that any social activities that you have will be cleared with your chaperones.
Oh, yeah.
Each of these teams has a woman chaperone so that they don't get caught with men. If you get caught with a guy, you're gone. And because, like they said, there's no alcohol and no men. So if you're a slut like Madonna, yeah, you'll get the axe if you get caught. So then we are introduced to the awesome Jimmy Dugan, played by Tom Hanks, who is a stumbling drunk and a fall down drunk. And Walter Harvey's has chosen him to manage one of the girls' baseball teams. And he's like, "Are you still a fall down drunk?" "Well, sir, actually, no, I quit drinking." He's like, "You seen the error of your ways?" "Well, no, sir, it's because I can't afford to anymore." And he starts laughing. He's like, "Oh, Jimmy, you could have been great. If only you would have laid off the booze." And then he's like, "Well, I could have done better. I mean, I hurt my knee." "You jumped out of a hotel, that's how you hurt it." "Well, yeah, there was a fire, which you started and I had to pay for." It's like, what the fuck, man? He's like, "Harvey, or Mr. Harvey, I hit so many I hit like 300 or some odd home runs for you, and some odd in World Series, 2 in Game 2 alone. I know that. Look, you're still a name. You go out in the beginning of the game, you wave your hat, you give them a smile, and that's it." And, well, okay, we're going to get that. So we then get introduced to the first game with Rockford versus Racine, which they end up playing them later on in the series. And we get what's known as the record time piss, where the girls are talking and Betty wants to get him to sign her husband's baseball card that he has of him. And he just busts right in. And you see some of the women jump, and he's just stumbling and drunk. Goes right to the back, up to one of the sinks, whips it out, just starts pissing from 34 minutes and 30 seconds in the film to 35 minutes and 12 seconds. And during this time, you even see Madonna timing this. She's like, "Give me a watch." And she's like, and you see, or you hear Doris, "Hey, how long?" "I'm not going to ask you again." "Shut up, Doris." And he gives it a shake. Keep going. And he's like, and wow, that was a pretty good pin. Coach, could you sign the card? Rip. Throws it. And Betty did say that if anything happens to this card, her husband will come back from Italy to kill her. Unfortunately, that is kind of a foretelling, because one of the famous things that happens, or that happened a lot in World War II, was the telegram. The Death Note is what a lot of people called it before Death Note was a thing in anime. They were known as condolence letters, death notes, war telegrams that were sent for women or to inform family or a wife that their loved one overseas has perished. So later on, that is going to happen with somebody. Well, we already spoiled it. It's going to happen to Betty.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that until you just said that. I was like, oh wow, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, we can't play without a lineup. He didn't give us a lineup. Well, maybe I should play. And you see Madonna and Rosie are freaking arguing to play center field. And she's like, well, and so Dottie steps up. How hard can it be to create a lineup? Well, how about you do it, Oregon? Me? Yeah, you. Okay, May. Center field lead off. She's good. So we get the lineup. We get the intros. There's not a lot of enthusiasm. You have Jimmy Dugan coming out there waving his hat, smiling. You all can kiss my ass. You all can fuck her off. Kiss my ass. And he goes back down in the dugout. And I'm like, oh my God. And we then get the heckler and Ellen Sue. Now, Ellen Sue is one of the hottest freaking chicks in the movie, physically looking, next to Dottie Henson. And all these guys all the women are looking at this asshole. He's like, girls can't play ball. Look at me. I'm a ball player. I'm a ball player. And he's like, oh, man, my freaking hell. Ellen Sue just whips it right at him, knocking him back. And you see the other guys saying, get off the field, you jackass. And she's like, it slipped. I love that scene. So then they don't show you the full games, which, because let's be honest, it would have taken a few hours. But it's like, in the bottom of the fifth, we're going to see what does Jimmy Dugan have to say for his player. I can't show you, folks, but he's itching his nuts while drunkenly asleep. And Ira Lowenstein is in the crowd. He's noticing that there's not a big crowd. I mean, they were all laughing at the women after the lineup was given. And they're like, are they laughing at us? Yeah, they're laughing at us. And so you then see Dottie Henson stroll up and give a good old home run. And then they're like, oh my God, wow, okay, we got something to look at here. Well, then the game is over. The players are going in. Jimmy Dugan's at the water spigot, just pouring water on his face. A couple of kids asking for his autograph. Ira Lowenstein has to go and talk with Jimmy Dugan because Jimmy Dugan was just kind of not right doing what he was doing. Oh, Jimmy, that was a good game. I mean, especially in the fifth inning when you scratched your balls for an hour. First, I didn't know if you were drunk or even dead. One thing we're doing right. He's like, well, you got a team full of good girls here, man. Ball players. I haven't got ball players. I got girls. Girls who you want to sleep with after the game, not coach during the game. And then he coughs his
chaw.
Yeah, his jaw onto Lowenstein's foot. If we paid you a little more, could you be any more disgusting, Jimmy? Well, I could certainly use the money.
Oh, man.
I mean, this movie has so much comedy in it, folks. So, yeah. What did you think of that scene?
You know, that first game was just great because, you know, you're getting a feel for everybody. You're especially getting introduced to Jimmy for the first time. And, you know, you really pay attention to his development along the movie about how he is constantly changing. And he even, you know, it's been mentioned in chat a couple times, the girls don't play baseball scene because I don't want to get too far ahead, but
yeah,
you know, he evolves and changes over the course of it to where he learns how to talk to the girls so much better and how to actually be a coach. And Dottie is actually a very big proponent in his changing. And even think at one point he even, you don't really see it and they don't talk about it, but he stops drinking.
Yeah.
To where he's not drinking anymore. And I just caught it out. Like I was watching it this morning, and I caught the scene that I think that actually happens in, and that's
On the bus later.
Yeah, and he's like about to drink, and then she's like, "No, hands and Coke," and yeah, it was.
Yeah, that scene.
There's just so much that goes on in this movie, and
the character development in this film is actually very well done because they do it right for the certain characters that are important to the film.
Oh yeah, and like even the charm school stuff, like that is something that they wanted in the movie because it was something that the actual ladies had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's so great. Like Tom Hanks does it good, does the character good, and it's there's just so many little things that it will take multiple watches, I think, to catch. Even Ira's character at certain points. And there's when you first see him, he's wearing like the normal wicker hats and stuff like that. And by the end of the movie, he's wearing a baseball cap.
Yep, because he's Harvey. He's Walter Harvey's talent and promotional manager. He's basically he's the one responsible for getting the people to actually come to the games and like the games and whatnot, which actually does come to play later in the movie.
Oh yeah, and there's a line that he gets later on that I absolutely love that he delivers, and he doesn't. He's another character that does not have a lot of lines, but it's like every character that has very few screen time or very little lines that like they deliver them perfectly, and they're just so well written and well done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and basically the characters in this movie that get the most growth: Kit, Dugan, Lowenstein, and that is roughly it. A lot of people are probably going to ask, well, what about Dottie? She is literally at the top of her game. She's the character that her sister aspires to. Where her sister has to match. Kit is, or Dottie in some ways in this movie is actually more, if you think about it, in a way is an antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, this movie does misdirection in one of the best ways possible. You watch through the eyes of the Peaches, the Rockford Peaches. However, it is Kit's story, but it doesn't continue, or it doesn't go over to the Racine Bells when she gets traded later. It still stays with the Peaches, but it really is Kit's movie. And that is so wonderfully done in this movie. So then we get to the ads montage for the girls. And one of the things I actually liked earlier when they were doing the tryouts, which I forgot to talk about, was that there was the radio report from that woman.
Yeah.
Where they're like, or where it was a huge critique about how, what are the men going to come home to when they come home from the war? Hyper masculinized women of a sexually confused orientation. And he's like, Mr. Harvey, you're like your candy bars, you're completely nuts. It's like, I love how this movie actually proves that wrong in so many ways. Because these women are not sexually confused. They are still women. They still love their husbands and they still love guys and whatnot. And what's wrong, or baseball is not necessarily a masculine game. Yes, the majority of baseball is played by men, but women can play ball. It really is a genderless sport. However, that's an argument for another time.
Right.
Because we could, or it would get so into the socio-political stuff.
Yeah.
So then we get to the ads montage where they're talking about Betty Spaghetti and Ellen Sue is a former Miss Georgia, and Dottie Hinson is, who catches like this and hits like Garrick. Keep your mitts to yourself, folks. She's married. And then there's her kid sister Kit, who's as single as they come. And I'm like, wow, okay, that you seriously just insulted that woman. But then they come out with the Good Recovery, who has enough Hollywood starlet power to keep, or for several women or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's Marla Hooch. What a hitter! What a team! But girls playing baseball? And they do it in the black and white montage until they get back to the game. And then we get introduced to Evelyn, the lovely Evelyn, who has a son named Stillwell Angel, who goes to Jimmy Dugan, and she's like, I play left field for us. And my husband is too busy looking at him one ad, so he says, or my son needs to come with me on road trips. And so he says to take him and just shut up about it. So can I take my husband or take my son on road trips? Ball players. And he just walks off. He's the sweetest little boy. Everyone's just going to love him. This kid is anything but a sweet little boy. When they cut to him, he is running up the aisle of the bus with these two little flaggers that slap women's ears. And his face is full of chocolate. He is the chubbiest 3-year-old you will ever, or he had to be like 3 or 4 or 5. He is the chubbiest, fattest little fucker you've ever seen. Sorry, folks, I do swear on here. But yeah, he just then goes right up to the bus driver and covers his eyes. And the bus driver finally pulls over. That's it. I quit. And you see Madonna, Evelyn, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to kill your son. And he chases the kid off the freaking field or off the bus. And you hear the kid going, and you hear Doris is like, May, yes, Marla's back. It's heavier. And they stop her, and you see Evelyn, Stillwell Angel, have another chocolate bar. Gimme. It's like, are you serious?
Oh,
that's going to make it worse. And then it's like, keep him away from me. He really is a sweetheart, Dottie. And during this time, Mrs. Cuthbert, the chaperone for the Peaches, is trying to get Mr. Gustatelli, the bus driver, to come back. Mr. Gustatelli, please, you can't go. The girls have a game. No. Picks up some dirt. No. Throws it right in her face. Yeah. No. And so she's coming back, and they're all talking about what they're going to do. Where y'all going? Or Dottie, you want to come with us tonight? Where y'all going? A little dive called the Sun's Bucket. Oh, no, I'm married and whatnot. She knows it's a dive for singles and whatnot. And, well, what about Miss Cuthbert? Or then they see that some of the women are smoking, and then Cuthbert comes up. Girls, Mr. Gustatelli shan't be returning. She goes on to the bus. Well, what about Miss Cuthbert? How are you going to get past her? May's going to poison her dinner. What? And it's like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. And so she goes, or on the bus, Mr. Dugan, what is it, baby? And he just starts kissing Cuthbert. His reaction. What the hell is going on? What was that? Lou quit. Who's Lou? The driver. And then he gets off the bus. He's like, bus. Is that English? I mean, Doris is like, is that English? What did he say? By the way, I loved you in The Wizard of Oz. And you see Miss Cuthbert's like, it was, what your thoughts, dude? Holy crap.
Again, just another good scene. It's so great. The little kid, just with the chocolate and the face, and then you slightly get hear the mom in the background say, "Don't eat the wrapper, Stillwell."
Don't eat the wrapper, honey.
And just the girls standing around smoking, it just, something about it just seemed natural, when you see it. It's like, I don't know. Normally when I smoking's portrayed in movies, it's not portrayed as really elegant unless you're in a suit and tie, but it was casual the way they were dressed, and
but it was also like, a taboo at the time for them.
Oh yeah. And then it was,
go ahead.
It was just great.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So then we get to the suds bucket where, or we get to, what's her name? Cuthbert is sicker than a dog. In all my 40 years of practicing medicine, I've never seen a woman throw up that much. Well, it's probably the way she keeps herself entertained, Doc. And then she just comes in back up for another. There we go. And then you see the lady sneaking out. It's like, May, how much did you give her? Enough. Just shut up. We can go, can't we? It's like, wow. So then we get the nice dancings of May at the suds bucket. You see how she's really turning on all the guys. And you see how Doris is helping her with some of the stuff. And how Doris is actually leading the guy dancing with her because, well, she's such a bigger folk and whatnot. Amen, Fate. Good to see you.
What's up, Fate?
I mean, this scene is all around great. And you also learn that her father, or Doris's father, owned a dive or taxi dancing and whatnot, where May was one of the dancers and she was the bouncer. And it's like, back in those days, if that ever did happen, it was one of the rarest occurrences you will ever see because Doris was more of a masculine build, She was big boned. Rosie was big boned. And then we get to, or Dottie is driven in by this kid. Well, what? Thanks a lot, kid. Hey, what's the rush, Dollface? Why don't we slip it to the back and you can make a man out of me? How about I smack you around for a little while? How about that? Can't we do both? It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, that scene gets me.
It really does. It is so freaking hilarious. And then she comes in. She's like, we got to go. Lowenstein's on his way. And we got to, if he catches us, we're out of the league. And they're like, is this everybody? Well, where's Marla? Up there. And Marla is singing, and she's making the blues singers cry while she's singing, thinking of you. And you see this guy who's just watching her and madly in love with her. And he even puts his arms up to go to her and puts them down really quick. What did you do to her? We just gave her a dress and a lot of liquor. And so Dottie's like, Marla, we gotta go. I'm singing to Nelson. And I, baby, yes, you are. And she's like, yep, Marla, we gotta go. No! And he's like, I'll take her home. It'd be my honor. And so they have to get her out of there. And so they basically get her out. But she still sings. And you see one of the blues guys just tear it up. It's so beautiful. And then we get the in church at confession. And you hear a thump. That's the third time he's dropped that Bible since she's been in there. And then you see May coming out. Madonna, all the way May. And then you see the priest coming out. It's like, what? May, what did you say to him? Everything.
And he's just covered in sweat.
Sweat. Yeah, he is just he is pouring sweat down his face. Like, oh my, did he jack off in that freaking confessional? I mean, what did she say to him? Everything. That's her answer. Everything. And I'm like, oh my God. And then we see Dugan at the field that night with the hitting machine. He's like, girl, playing baseball, smacking. He's smacking. He's like, ha! He's just doing his little drunken bitching and whatnot. So then we see the next game, and Dottie's still coaching. And this is where Dugan or May is at or May hits a third or a triple, and Marla is stepping up, and Dottie tells her to bunt, signals her to bunt, and Jimmy is finally paying attention. What are you, stupid? Why would you waste a bunt when we got our strongest hitter? Butter! And it shows she's stepping out, she's stepping in, stepping out, stepping in, stepping out, and whatnot. And he's like, what's the sign for swing away? And it's in the letters and whatnot. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're about to waste the best hitter on a bunter. And so they're doing all the and whatnot. And it's like, hey, who's coaching this team? I am. Well, then act like it, you lush. I love how Dottie actually stands up to him like that.
Yeah.
And so he tells her, swing away. And so she finally swings away, and she's like, yeah, there you go. All right. And you see that Dottie's actually finally smiling about it. It's like, finally, this shit's off my back. And you also, we then get Shirley on the bus afterward learning how to read. Smut. And it's May that is teaching her how to read about milky white breasts. It gets really good on the next page. And it's like, May, what are you giving her to read? Oh, well, what's the point? She's reading. That's the important part. Now go, shoot. And you hear Doris has love walls. She's like, that's my boyfriend, Charlie. And he treats me bad. He's good, or he's terrible looking, and he treats me bad. And then they're talking, or another one's asking Evelyn. She's writing a song and whatnot. And Doris's love woes. And it's just a nice little filler scene to get to the next scene. But it does give you a little bit of stuff that's going to come later on. And then we get the next game where they lose the lead because Evelyn doesn't know how to throw to the cutoff man, or in this case, the cutoff girl. And he's like, what team do you play for? Well, Mr. Dugan, I'm a peach. Well, I was just curious why you would throw from left field all the way home when we have a 2-run lead. You lost a cutoff, and we lost the lead because of you. Now you start using your head. That's that lump 3 feet above your ass. And she starts crying. And we get the famous line. There's no crying in baseball. And he's like, and then he goes up. Robert Hornsby was my manager. And he called me a steamy pile of pig shit. And that was when my parents drove all the way from there to watch me play. And did I cry? No. 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 And you want to know why? No. Because there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. No crying. And then the umpire comes up. What's going on, Jimmy? She's crying, sir. Well, maybe you chastised her too vehemently. Good rule of thumb. Treat any of these women like you would treat your mother. Anybody ever say you look like a penis with a little hat on? You're out of here! I heard that. You can't throw me out because of that. You can't throw me out because of that. And he gets ejected from the game, and the girls are freaking clapping. Go, you're out. Go, freaking Doris and whatnot. Is that whole scene is just fucking hilarious. What are your thoughts?
Again, the women are sticking together, and that is just another theme that is throughout this movie. Like, they are all on the same page. You never really see them at each other's throats really for anything until a little bit later, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the no crying in baseball, it just it rings out so much, and it reminds me of when I played, and it's like, oh, you get hurt? Yeah, throw some dirt on it. You're fine.
Yeah, it's actually the worst thing to do. But yeah. So at the end of this game, Ellen Sue actually says it's like there's not a lot of people in the stands. We don't have if we don't have fans, we don't have a league. Well, then Ira Lowenstein comes in. You girls doing great. There's a couple of reporters, and I'm trying to get them to do a story on you, Dottie. Well, about me? Why? Well, you're the Queen of Diamonds. At least that's what we're calling you. And he's talking about how there's not enough interest to keep the league going, and that they might have to close you down. Well, then May freaks out. She's like, well, what am I supposed to do, huh? Go back to taxi dance at 10 cents for some guy to sweat gin on me and all that shit? I'm not going through that again. So you go and tell Mr. Harvey that he ain't closing me down. And he's like, well, you guys, you got to give him something to cheer for, you know? So the next game, or they're playing the hearts out, the next game is a very famous split catch where you literally see where she thinks for a moment, then drops to do the split and catches the foul ball. And then they finally take a picture of it and it's like, who is that? Her name is Dottie Hinton. It's Dottie. and it's like, or you see Tom Hanks, who's supposed to be ejected from the game. What the hell was that? Well, I don't know. I just thought it would help the league. Oh, give me a break. So then we get the efforts to draw a crowd, where we get the catch a foul, hit or win a kiss, and Ellen Sue hits a foul ball, and one of the sailors catches it, so she draws him up, gets a kiss, gets a nice little picture. You get the pitching contest with, I think, Mao Zedong, Winston Churchill, and Hitler, and Doris knocks over Hitler first. And it's like, $5. It's like, wow. And they do all sorts of different things. The papers are also helping out, doing more positive ads. You see the twins that were actually at the Suds bucket watching Madonna at first, but then they're like, 22. Guess who's 22, folks? Rosie O'Donnell. We love you, 22. These guys are blonde little curly shits with glasses, madly in love with 22. They don't even know her name. They're madly in love with her. And then we see Tom Hanks and I think it's Rosie holding Stillwell Angel. Come on, give it up. Yeah. What's wrong? The kid ate the lineup. It's like, cough it up, you little shit. And then we get the nice shot with the black woman who catches or who gets one of the balls. And Gina is like, right here. Well, she just whips that ball to Ellen Sue, and Ellen Sue's like, ow! And then you see the small little shot there. Well, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't black women play back then? This is before, or this is still in the time of Jim Crow, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, so that they have it, they're even out there, like separated from the rest of the people.
Yep, and a lot of people would probably have a big old problem with that nowadays when it's like, this is historically accurate, believe it or not. They were segregated still, even when it came to public events like baseball games. They weren't allowed to sit with the white folk. That's just how it was, folks. And they still played or gave enough respect to black people in this film by giving them that moment that there was still worth in other people who were different at the time. And it's like, hey, Kamen Rider, how you doing? And Jacob Ironside, good to see you. And I do love that little moment. It's a touching moment, and it really does give a good scene. How this is something that happened or could have happened back then. Now, there is a small little segue, folks. They are trying to do a League of Their Own show where it's going to be about lesbians in the 40s or some shit like that. And they're going to have diverse baseball. They're going to probably have Asians and blacks playing in this about this. And it's like, Why? How is this accurate?
Yeah,
You're taking
the
a
only-
a literal piece of history, and you are giving it a today's twist.
Yeah, about the only thing that would have been accurate about that would have been if they would have had, I believe it was Cubans on
Yeah.
it, because there were actual female Cubans that they recruited into the league.
Irish ones and Swedes and
Yeah.
Canadians. But if you were a POC, black, you were segregated, unfortunately. But yes, even Betty Spaghetti, she was also Latina. And May Motivito, she was Italian. No, wait. Betty was also Italian. So yeah, Irish, Ites, and Swedes, I believe it was. So, which is part of the song. And you see how big or how much the crowd is growing. And you also see the small cut of Marla getting married. And it is so great because they start pelting her car with baseballs. She marries Nelson, and she's like, I'll be back next season. Well, a lot of people are like, well, why can't she play anymore? Kind of obvious, folks. She got with a guy. She's getting married with a guy. What are the rules? No men? Yeah. She's also going on a honeymoon. So that's why Marla disappeared from the season. Because if she hadn't, I'm pretty sure the Rockford Peaches would have won the series, to be completely honest, because she is a freaking monster hitter. She is one of those, or I believe they call them sluggers. Yeah. So we then see Alice sliding into third, dirt in the skirt, and you see Tom Hanks pull or is taking the picture, and they're like, all right, pull up. You see this monster bruise on her leg because Alice doesn't slide. Alice is always the one that never slides. Well, then she slides for the first time and gets a major bruise on her leg. It's like this big of a freaking whoop, folks. As big as my head. And it's like, holy shit, that's gotta hurt. And Ira is so happy because he's now smiling that the crowd has gotten bigger. He's gotten everybody, or he's gotten what he needed to keep the league going. And then we see Dugan and Dottie on the bus, and her husband hasn't written in a few weeks. He's in Italy, apparently. And the death telegrams are brought up. And she's like, I'm pretty sure he's fine. I mean, unless you get one of those telegrams, then you know something's wrong. And you hear how Dottie plans on quitting if her husband comes home. And she starts talking with Dugan, and he's like, well, why aren't you over there? I have no cartilage. I blew out my knee. And I mean, not that you would need cartilage in the knee. I mean, all you really need to shoot Nazis is a trigger finger, you know? I mean, I got one of those. Look at it. And he checks on Cuthbert, and he looks back and he's like, okay, let's get something to get you. So she's like, hold on a second. Cracks open a couple of classic Cokes. She's like, and he's like, okay. I love that scene. And go ahead, give your shots or thoughts.
Oh, I was just gonna say, that's just another good scene that a subtle thing of showing patriotism as well. That he, like Jimmy, wanted to go fight and he couldn't. Like he was being just one more thing that was keeping him from something he wanted to do because of his bad choices.
Yeah,
but
he wanted to make a difference. To kind of what's the word? Atone for his bad decisions.
Like I said, this movie is just so full of those like little scenes that, they hit at the right moment and they don't linger, but when you catch them, you realize what's going on.
Yep. And you also see May in the back with Kit doing Kit's nails. Kit's always been more of a tomboy. And she's like, you sure your sister's going to be okay with this? I don't care. And you see how there is a little bit of friction later on and how it's just building and whatnot. And you even see a little bit of it during the previous scenes where she's like, you don't got a curveball left. I don't got a curveball left. Look at what's going on. I mean, they're arguing on the field. And then we get to this scene, and then he's like, does your husband know how good you are? Or does he know how good you are? Who? Bob? No, Hitler. Yes, Bob. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, yes, maybe. So then we get to the next game. And Dugan pulls Kit. And Dottie agrees to this. And then we are cut to, or she's very pissed off about this. And then we cut to Harvey, or Walter Harvey with Ira. And Harvey still wants to close down the league. And he's like, wait, what? We're winning the war. Even Roosevelt said, we are not shutting down baseball, so there's no need for the women anymore. And Ira is so, irate about this. He's like, so what, or was their patriotic duty to send the women to the factories and then get them out of the kitchen and whatnot? And now we got these women who would love to play this game. What are we supposed to do? Tell them to go back to the kitchen? Well, what are we supposed to do, or what would you propose we do otherwise? Send the men back to the kitchen? And he's like, these women are so dedicated to this. They play, or they spend hours on a bus just so that they could play a doubleheader in the next day. They're breaking fingers, they're spraining ankles. How are they? What is this all going to be for nothing? I'll make it up to him. With what? Harvey bars. And he's like, I'm really getting pissed off about this, Ira. He's like, sir, I would like your permission to take over the league. He's like, there is no room for women to play baseball in this country. We're finishing out the season, and that's it. We're cutting on loose.
Yeah, that's that line that Ira delivers that I love so much that it's how'd it go? It was oh, good, Rosie, we don't need you anymore, so turn in your rivets.
Yeah.
And, for those that don't know, there was a character called Rosie the Riveter back then that encouraged women during the war to go out and go to the factories and get jobs. So, it was just like wow.
And he also told him. And he also told him, I sold your product when there was no product. This is a product. Do you know how many people are? You know how much money you were raking in from this shit? Back when there was, or when you made, when it was just an empty promise, I made this, or I am the key to your success. He's basically telling him, how you doing, Vanja? Good to see you. He's like, I sold your product when there was no product. This is a product. And then we see the end of the game. Kit gets into a fight with Doris because Doris doesn't know how to shut her mouth. And then I love how she plays victim after. When Dugan brings Kit into the thing, you also hear Doris playing. She's like, I can't believe that she went after me like that. Well, and Helen tells her, it's like, she was very upset, and you knew she was upset, and you still went after her. And she's like, I don't need to hear your shit either. And Kit is just frustrated right now. She's had enough. She's had it. She just, all the shit that's been burning up in her, she decides to just let go. She's like, I know that you're always holding me back. I mean, you could have had my back out there instead of holding me back. And she's yelling at her sister and whatnot. And then shortly after, Ira Lowenstein, who has just received some crisis mode, notices that Dottie's not on the bus. And Dottie's thinking about, she's going to quit. And she's like, trade me or whatever, but you have till tomorrow to figure it out or otherwise I'm gone. And he's like, I'll arrange a trade. He realizes that the problem is with Kit. And it's like, oh, damn. Well, we get to the next scene. And Kit is traded instead of Dottie. And she's traded to Racine. And then we get to the big old fight where she keeps on blaming Dottie, and Dottie has just had enough of this shit. She's like, blow it out your rear end. I got you into this league, damn it. I didn't even want to be here. And all the other girls are listening in. I mean, it's common girl drama. And she's like, well, if you stink there, at least you know who to blame. And she's like, I'll see you in the World Series. You bet you will. And so they notice that she's about to come out. Don't look at her. Don't look at her. And then Helen comes out. Has anyone seen my new hat? Oh, piss on your hat. I love that. What did you think of that scene with the trade and whatnot?
There's something that's kind of been forming in my head since we started this, but I'll save it till the end. But this is one of those scenes that I do want to point something out that, at the start of the scene when Kit walks in, how she catches the ball with her bare hand.
Yep.
And the only person we'd seen do that up to this point was her sister.
Yeah.
So another subtle evolution of her character throughout the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was just a good scene. And I love just Gina Davis's look through this whole movie. It literally looks like they just plucked her right out of the 1940s.
Yes.
And it's so like, wow, out of everyone there, she is the one that looks the most accurate to me. And especially that scene with the bandana and the way her hair is done and everything. It's just Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But
then and you even have Betty talking into the door. She's like, don't act like this. You're still in the team, or you're still in the league. You're just on a different team. That's all. And so she's trying to let her know that we get what you're going through. And then we get to the next game where they're all in the locker room. We see the ladies in their underwear, and they're singing the famous song, the members of the All-American League. And they get their nice song sung and whatnot. And then they finish getting dressed. And I love how Jimmy comes in. He's no longer drunk, stumbling. He's pepped up. He's no longer on drink. He comes in, hey, Cuthbert, how'd you doing? Smacks her ass. Oh, you gorgeous woman. You gorgeous thing, you. And he's like, hey, ladies, come on. Okay, so I'm going to need you guys to use your heads out there. Hey, that's that lump 3 feet above our ass, right, Jimmy? Well, Doris, some more prominent than others. I love how he just throws it right back at her. But before that, they can get into any more talk, the postman comes. And Dottie and Betty are right next to each other in this scene, which is perfect placement. And the guy's like, I got a telegram from the War Department. And then he's like, I really hate these. I just had the name right here. And at least they could send somebody personally to tell you that your husband's dead. Well, I got to go and I got to get this straightened out. And the scene really takes that dark turn. He's like, just give me the telegram. I can't. I don't have a name. Just give me the telegram. Look, sir, I can't do that. And so Tom Hanks takes the telegram, shoves the guy out the door. This is a War Department. I'll be back. And so the guy walks off. And he reads the note. He doesn't read it aloud, but he is walking towards Betty and Dottie. And one of the other women go out to get Mrs. Cuthbert because, well, they realize that she's definitely going to be needed. She is their chaperone, and somebody's about to get their heart and their world destroyed. And I cry over this scene every time. I'm actually welling up right now, where he hands it to Betty saying, I'm sorry, Betty. And she breaks down. She's screaming out her husband's name, George. and her husband has died in combat. She got the news. She got the death note. The news that nobody ever wants to see or hear or experience. She's going to get a folded flag. She's getting, sadly, all of it. And Cuthbert comes in to comfort her, take her out of the game. She's not going to be able to play the game. He's like, okay, ladies, we got a game to go. And it really is a heartbreaking scene because I also have family members in the military. My grandfather was in World War II. In fact, during Memorial Day, I talked about how my grandfather was actually on Omaha Beach, like in the Saving Private Ryan, not specifically in that sector, Dog Green sector, but he was on that beach, and he would never talk about what he saw in World War II. What were your thoughts with the telegram scene?
You know, I think this is the part of the movie that when I described this movie as kind of a roller coaster ride where there's a bunch of ups and downs. We just had the scene where Kit and Dottie were fighting, and that was kind of a lull scene where you kind of got at the top of it, and then the Death Note scene. It's one of those scenes that you've been having fun. Because we've talked about the comedy in this movie. The movie's been fun. It's been dramatic. And this is just that scene that really hits. It's another one of those scenes that really puts you in that time period. And it makes it more real, I think, for the viewing audience and the characters in the movie, because, they had seemingly been setting up for Dottie to be getting it, but then when it was Betty, she, you kind of get that little bit of relief that it wasn't her, because you're kind of rooting for Dottie in this, even though there's nothing to really root for, because she is like I said, she's kind of the Mary Sue of the movie, where she is. There's nothing. She's perfect. There's nothing
she
wrong
is the epitome of perfection.
But like, the way the movie's set up is like you want to root for her because you like her. And so you don't want to see something bad happen to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just that moment, it being real, like making it real and setting that time frame, it just seems like I don't know, like I don't know if I would say the perfect place to put it, but it was definitely a good scene.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually, like you said, we had that high moment, and we also did have the high moment of the women singing their camaraderie and whatnot. And then we say, okay, we are going to remind you folks, this is a movie during wartime. We are giving you that reminder of reality that a very bad thing can happen to these women. And it is one of the most heartbreaking things you could ever understand in this. And I do love that, because the very next scene is Dottie crying her eyes out in her room. She thinks that her husband may be dead because she hasn't heard from him. Well, he then comes in, knocking on the door. He comes in. You see the bruised splint on his foot, and he's walking with a cane, and it's Bill Pullman, the actor. He's a great actor. Independence Day, he played the president, and also former president in Independence Day Resurgence. He's played in Casper, the Friendly Ghost. He's played in a million different other movies. Yeah. I believe he also played in a show where he was the president, where he's talking to a kid that is going to be dating his daughter, and he's like, I will have cameras on you. I have robots patrolling the sky. It's like, imagine if you are the president and your kid is your daughter is at dating age. It's like, I would say that same damn thing. It'd be like, I have robots patrolling the skies, just so you know. If you make any wrong move, these men are ordered to shoot you in the knees. But yes, Bill Pullman comes in, and he explains that he was injured because there was a sniper and it took out 7 other people before they took him out. And he gets shot in the foot, apparently. That's where the splint is. And he's been medically discharged, so he's home. And, well, what did we already figure out with Dottie? As soon as her husband comes home, she's done.
She's done. Yeah.
And I love this scene because it's romantic without being too romantic. It is a woman who has been yearning for her husband to come home. And she's like, or let me get all the stuff. And he's like, I forgot how beautiful you are. No, I'm a mess. You're beautiful. And she looks radiant in that scene. Gina Davis is an absolute goddess in that scene. But you also see her vulnerability. This is a woman who, as you have said, she's kind of a Mary Sue. She's perfect in every way. But this is a moment where she is incredibly vulnerable. And it really is a great way of expressing that. So then, or what were your thoughts on this scene where he comes in?
You know, when she was crying, I almost want to say that she was crying because it was as a relief of not getting the letter.
Yes.
And yeah, when Bill Pullman comes in and just how happy she is, she plays it off so well that, she is absolutely happy. She is content. She has her world back at that moment. She is able to hold her husband, hug her husband, do whatever they want to do. And she's talked about what she wanted to do with her life, which is go home, have kids, and she'd be happy.
Yep.
And now she can essentially do that.
Yep.
So,
and I love that one scene that one line she says when she's holding them. It's like, can we just hold each other for the rest of our lives? And he tells her that is the plan.
Yeah.
And then we get to the next day where Dugan comes on. He's like, all right, come on, ladies. Why is this bus empty? And it's the World Series. And it's like, oh, let's not go to the World Series without Stu Wells toys. Come on, you're killing me, Oz. Why don't you don't yell at me before a game, Jimmy? It's bad luck. And we get the Scrappers. Now, this scene with the Scrappers, folks, for those of you who do not know, Scrappers are the kids who were collecting scrap metal.
Oh yeah.
And this was a thing during World War II. You even see it in the Captain America, the First Avenger movie, where they show about the little Timmy collecting scrap metal for the war effort. Because at that time, there was a metal shortage. So this was indeed our economy. A lot of people don't realize this. War is never good for an economy. It's good for a war economy, but it is not good for the economy of people who are living in middle class and whatnot. Sorry, I'm adjusting my seat. And when things like scrap metal are where kids are asked by their own government to collect scrap metal, to do their patriotic duty, to get this stuff, well, that is something that happened. And that tells you that the economy is basically in the fucking dirt.
Yeah.
But they took this scene. It's like, hey, Jimmy, it's like, are you Jimmy Dugan? Yeah. Can we get your autograph? Sure. Writes it down and gives it back. Oh, cool. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. That's good advice. Folks, for those of you who may not know, the clap is chlamydia. It's a sexually transmitted disease. He gave this advice to 7-year-olds. Essentially. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And they run off with their scrap metal. It's like, oh my God.
And how great it is that the way Tom Hanks plays that off is it's almost like, oh, what did I just write on that ball?
Right? It's like, oh shit, did I seriously, right? It's good advice. And then oh my God. And then he sees, this is one of the most powerful scenes in the game, or scenes in the movie that's not baseball related, where he sees that Dottie's taken off. And he's like, so, and she's like, I want to, or I don't need this. I mean, like, you know what, or baseball is what gets inside you. You can't deny that. He's like, well, maybe we're we're different like that. He's like, oh, bullshit, Dolores, or bullshit, Dottie. If you want to go home and have 100 babies, I'm not one to tell a person how to live. But if you do this, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And she, the way that she reacts to this, she's like, it just got too hard. And this is where he delivers one of the best advice and lines in the entire history of film, folks. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everyone would be doing it. The hard is what makes it great. That is a lesson for life, folks. Life is never supposed to be all easy. You have to have strife in your life. You have to have some sort of challenge in your life so that you can be the best version of yourself. And otherwise, what honestly can you say that you have achieved? You know? Your thoughts?
Yeah, man, like that scene, and you think about everything that has been leading up to that. Like her and Jimmy had been getting so close throughout the entire movie. You know,
I was almost expecting them to actually have an affair.
It was very close, but it's not one of those kind of movies where
it isn't.
You know, it's one of those PG-13 movies that it's just so well done.
PG-13.
Was it PG-13? I might be wrong.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. Keep going.
But yeah, and you know, there was the scene where Jimmy offered her the chaw, and then there was another scene right after that where she's got it and she's spitting, and he's like, yeah. You're looking like a real ball player now. And he, I think, sees himself in her because of how good she is, and he knows she loves the game. But that, if anything, that is Dottie's one flaw throughout the movie, is she is never doing anything for herself. She didn't get into the league for herself. She got into it for Kit. She didn't do that split catch for anybody but the league.
Or the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's because she loves the game and she wants to keep it going. Mm-hmm. But she is doing everything that she can for everyone else.
And this one time she gets to do something for herself.
Yeah. And I mean, like she said at the beginning, she doesn't want to play. She was happy married. Milking. She had everything she wanted with her husband. She just wanted him back. And because he wasn't back, she had this one moment in her life that she was able to do, like she was able to go off and do something else.
Yep.
But the minute that he comes back, she is happy going right back into that life.
Yep. And you see them go, and then we get an intro to the World Series, and it's the Peaches versus the Racine Bells. Kit is there, and I love how they cover it, or it's a newspaper coverage where they're showing that Racine takes out the Peaches. Peaches swing over Racine, and yada yada. And it becomes a 3-3 World Series with a 7th game. And I also love that where they toss the newspaper and you see the little kid in the hat turn around and whatnot. It's just so great because it dates the movie so well. It helps date the movie because little kids, contrary to popular belief, folks, you won't see this nowadays. Little kids had jobs. 5, 6, 7 years old. They had jobs where they could actually get paid.
It's like,
what do we have? What do we have? Yeah, it may be like a nickel or something for an hour or something like that, but it was still a job.
Yeah.
Nowadays, what are 5, 6, 7-year-olds doing? Drooling on a couch, looking at a cell phone. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, well, I'm not going to say all kids are like that, but believe me, folks, I have seen a pretty large number of them out there.
It's more
There's a lot of
common.
spoiled kids out there.
Yeah, it's more common now to see kids, well, watching YouTube than doing anything else.
And so then we get to the 7th game. And Alice's socks stink like hell. It's like, what is that smell? Alice thinks it's bad luck to change her socks. Oh my God. So the rest of us have to suffer along with her, huh? And it's like, okay, everybody get down. And he starts doing a prayer. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep interrupting.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I keep forgetting to bring this up, but superstition in baseball is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they added Alice, who she's the one who tells them, "Hey, cross your fingers, or you'll never get another hit," when they're driving past a graveyard on the bus. And I caught that this morning, and like she several times throughout the movie, she's telling them things that are bad luck, and the socks thing is the thing that really reminded me that, oh yeah, because I forget which player it was, but he would not wash his socks during a season, or during when he was if they were in the series games, and because he thought it was bad luck. So
and
just
so
another,
you know, folks, I've done a personal experiment when it comes to socks, where you don't wash your socks. Not only did I have a health problem after, the socks also wore down. Yeah, holes like this big in your sock heels and whatnot. Doesn't feel too good. So back then, socks must have been made of tougher stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, after I saw it, it was Little League when I did that. I was in Little League baseball, high school, or grade school baseball doing that. And I had to hide those socks. Because I'm pretty sure my dad would have been like, "This isn't a movie, Dan. Don't do that." And yeah, so then he gets down, does the prayer. Lord, hallowed be thy name. Just want to thank you for that woman in South Bend. You know which one I'm talking about. She was screaming your name the whole time. But these girls, they're good girls. May our bats be mighty, and may our balls be plentiful. And I'm like, this is one of the weirdest freaking prayers, man. And earlier in the movie, there is that one scene where he interrupts them at church. He's like, "Come on." You all know this doesn't do a damn thing. And God knows we have a game. And then he's like, "This doesn't really do anything, just to let you know." And then as he's walking, he's like, it's so freaking great how his character growth in this film, like I said, Dugan, Kit, Lowenstein have the greatest character growth in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, you can count Stu Angel if you want, but it's like 45 years too late.
Yeah. Oh, man.
No, it was 43. So 49 years too late. Almost 50 years. But anyway, speaking of Stillwell, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. Stillwell, come! I just want one game where your kid is not being a pain in the ass. And dude, it's news or covers this. Thank you so much, girl. And whatnot. And so he's talking up with Ellen Sue, and he's like, "Good, Ellen Sue, you warm?" "All right, Alice, if she has nothing left, you tell me in the game. You do not hide any shit from me. You hear me, Alice? Do you hear me?" And it's Dottie. "Yeah, you're screaming, aren't you?" "Well, where'd you come from?" "Got as far as Yellowstone, turned back." "Have a little problem with the bears, did you?" Look, I was fine until that scout walked into our barn. Plus, I'm no quitter. Hold on. Who said you could play? You don't want me to play? All right. Well, you're already dressed, and I don't care. You can play. Well, then I'll play. Yeah. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. You gotta lose. You gotta. He takes what's her name's glove and just chucks it at the kid. Boom! Right in the face, and just falls off. And it's like, I got him. And even the other girls are freaking cheering that. The girl or the players are freaking cheering. And he's like, yeah. And then you see his mom come up. So, well, you're going to stay out there all day or you're going to come into the dugout? It's just so freaking great, folks. So what were your thoughts on the whole reveal that she came back?
You know, like I said, I've watched this like 3 times and it still gets me every time. Like it's so out of the blue. It's unexpected. Like I said, she'd said the whole time, like, I don't need this. I don't need to play.
Mm-hmm.
And you really got to wonder why did she come back? Was it for the love of the game? Was it for the love of her team? Was it for the league? You know,
or was it that she wasn't a quitter?
Yeah.
Or was it that? Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those moments that you see in movies that it's a great twist that you're not expecting, and it makes the ending, it gets you so hyped because they'd hyped her up the entire movie like she is the best at this. She is the greatest baseball player. And
She's
to not see her in the last game is like, well, okay, how's this going to play out? And at this point, we know Kit's on the other team. She's facing her sister. The drama there, the friction. It's like, all right, like I'm in. What's about to happen?
Mm-hmm. Hold on 1 second. I'm checking something. And we basically, after that, we get the very even ball game between the Racine Bells and the Rockford Peaches. And then the main event of the game hits close to the end of the game. It's like, but yet she hasn't come on again. And we see that the Peaches get 2 runs, or we see that the game goes evenly. The Bells get 1 run, and then it's Dottie coming up to the plate, like late in the game, and it's like, are you telling me that she hasn't batted once until this moment? And Kit is visibly shaken by Dottie coming, but she's still steadfast. She tries to pitch, and Dottie hits a line drive right at her head. And this is the top of the 9th that this happens. And so 2 scores are hit in by the Peaches. Well, then Ellen Sue gets up, hits a long one to left field, and gets caught out. Well, then we're in the bottom of the 9th, and Kit is freaking out. She's broken at this point. She is breaking down. And she's holding her head like this. She's freaking out because their team is losing. She wants this so bad. You literally can feel the emotion coming off her in waves. It's a mixture of terror, fear, sadness, tiniest bit of excitement in there because it is a baseball game, but you just feel how scared she is of this. Her sister is still above her and looking down on her. In her mind, this is. And you even see Dottie walk over and look at her sister, and you see how you get the feeling that Dottie she has such a stoic look that she doesn't care. She's like, Okay. She's freaking out. Good. This is a game. She needs to learn. That's essentially what the kind of look she gives her. And so Tia Leone ends up getting on first for the Racing Bells, and then it's Kit's turn. And we get the final showdown. Well, Dottie calls time. Goes up to Ellen Sue. High fastballs. She can't hit them. She can't lay off them. Basically, this is an easy win for Rockford Peaches. So we think. And, well, that it goes two ways, or two strikes. And you even hear her coach yell at her, lay off the high ones. And then she looks at Dottie and she realizes exactly what she said. She realizes the game, or she realizes what she did. Ellen Sue throws another high fast and she rips it out into the field. And one run comes in to tie. And when Lori Petty is running these bases for this scene, you see the fury in her. You see how much she wants this win. Her coach tells her, stop there at third. It was a very risky triple, but Kit's still going. And Dottie can't believe it. She steps up. She's like, throw it there. And there was a scene earlier in the film where another player tried running Dottie down to get to get safe at home. Well, she still held on. So if you hold on, even if they don't touch the plate at that time, if you are able to plow into the catcher and they drop that ball, you're safe. That's a safe. Well, there was the other time earlier in the film, we didn't really cover it, where she is holding on to the ball so the person was out. When Kit runs into her, she's got basically murder in her eyes when she does this. And she runs in. It goes slow motion, no sound. Her hands hits the floor and the ball, or the ground, and the ball comes off. And the umpire goes safe. And it's that moment that I realized it wasn't Dottie's story. It was Kit's story. Even when I saw this when I was younger, not the first time, but when I was like 13 or 14, that was when I was realizing early on that I wanted to get into movies and stuff. And I started paying attention to movies a little bit more closely. That was when I realized as a 14-year-old that this was Kit's story. What were your thoughts with the Dottie versus Kit?
That whole game between them, you can see the sparks going between them their whole time, and Kit is just trying so hard. And I got to give it up to Lori Petty. She, I think, is the only one that can give those facial emotional responses that she can give, especially right after she feels that she is she's given everything, and she is in that dugout. She is shaking. She is like absolutely losing it, and she has no confidence when she goes into the plate to hit that ball.
Yeah.
And like you said, when she realizes what her sister just did and hitting that, this is another evolution of her character, because it has been a very slow, very subtle buildup that she is coming out of
her sister's
Dottie's, her sister's shadow. And when she hits it, and I don't know about you, but when she rounds that third base, I hold my breath every time.
Yeah,
because it's that suspense of what's about to happen.
Yep.
And along the way, I think I asked this at the beginning. Did Dottie throw that?
Did she drop it on
go with
purpose?
That ball? And I'm thinking that she did, because right after, when she hears the crowd cheering Kit's name, because Kit has now overcome her sister, she's looking and she is so happy for her sister.
She's looking at her sister with pride.
Yeah,
and Dugan's also looking at. You see both of them, and she's got a small smile that builds into a bigger one.
Yeah. And, as we've said during this, that, Dottie really didn't want to be there. I mean,
Nope.
she loves the game, but she was happy playing on their home team. She was happy being at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's where she wanted to be. That was Kit's dream, to be
Yeah.
there, to leave the town, to do more,
To be better or greater than something bigger than her.
yeah. And her sister helped her achieve it all along the way. She helped her get into the league. She helped her become a better player.
Yeah.
And so I at this point, I really think I can say confidently that, yeah, I think her sister let go of that ball to let her be safe.
And I'll actually disagree with you there, because the way she, if you pay attention, the way she looked just before she or her sister plows into her, she's like, okay, she's coming full tilt. Shit, she tenses up. So she's like, and I just don't think that obviously Gina Davis let go of the ball so that the scene could carry.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I don't think that Henson dropped the ball on purpose. Because her face does kind of display that she's not or she knows that her sister's coming for murder, essentially, coming for blood.
But I mean, just how great is that scene that we can both come to this conclusion and have different outcomes, and I mean that's just the way that I see it, and that's the way that you see it, and I swear that movie is worth watching. It's worth having in your library.
Definitely. And I also love how this is Kit's moment, and when you truly realize that this is Kit's story. This movie is a perfect bait and switch in a good way, folks. This movie starts off with Dottie Hinson. You see that she is a main focus in this movie. And you think it is about her. But it really is about Kit. Kit is the character that needs the growth, that needs to get out of her sister's shadow somehow, because she always felt that her sister was holding her back so that her sister could take the limelight. And her sister didn't even want to be there. She was the greatest player in the league. No other player could match her. Yet Kit did. And Kit then overtook her. And she had that moment in the World Series. And everyone finally was calling her name. And then we also see Ira and Harvey there. All right, Ira, they can continue. They can stay. Where Ira Lowenstein, after this World Series, where the fat lady who sang the Star Spangled Banner is up there just munching on that chocolate bar. I mean, really just, it's like, well, I guess the fat lady sang, now she's having a snack. Yeah, folks, I said a fat joke. Deal with it. I'm fat too. I mean, I got the gut. So I can make the fat joke, damn it.
Right.
But anyway, you also understand that the league will carry on. And that is so great. And then we have the small scene with her sister and her after she's signing balls for some girls. And she's telling them, she's like, what team you want to play for? Racing. That's what I thought she said. And then they walk off and she's like, go on, get dirty. And it's not exactly the advice you'd give little girls back in the 40s, but that is the advice you want to give to future ball players, because you got to get used to getting dirty because it's a dirty sport. And so she's like, they have their talk, and you realize that Dottie's not coming. She's back. She wants to have kids. And she's like, there's plenty of time to have kids. You're going to miss this, and whatnot. And she's like trying to push the bus out of the mud, playing in 100-degree heat. No, I'll tell you what I will miss. I'll miss the girls, and I'll miss you. Me. Well, yeah. How many sisters do you think I have? And you realize that while there was that huge rivalry, Dottie or Kit never could get past or could understand that, even though this was a self-perceived rivalry. This was a self-perceived rivalry, and Kit never understood that. Dottie never wanted to have her sister resent her. That was never her intention. So it is the perfect moment where she realizes that I love you, Kit. She tells her, I love you, Kit. You're my sister. I'm always going to love you. And she asks her, are you going to come back with us? And she's like, no, I'm thinking about staying here, getting a job. I really like it here. Christmas, I don't know. I'll just probably be in the way. So she is putting aside the life that she had. She's trying to stay away from that because that is a life going back to mediocre. She doesn't want that. She wants to be a part of something. And then they finally give that hug. And she's like, I'm going to miss you. And no matter what you say, you are going to miss this. And she even gives her that affirmation. She does give her that affirmation. She's like, yeah, I will. And then they walk out. Dugan meets the husband. And it's like, this is awkward. It's awkward, not because there was sexual tension between Dottie and Dugan. It's because they had such a closeness, in not a romantic closeness, but they were friends. But there's also that other guy in Dottie's life, you know? And he's like, Harvey just offered me a chance to play or to manage the team in Wichita. AAA, all right. Sounds good, man. You got it. I turned him down. Why'd you turn him down? Because I'm already managing a team, you know? He's managing Peaches, you know? And it is I also love, he's like, I'm Dottie's wife. I'm a huge fan. Or Dottie's husband. I'm a huge fan. Oh, well, I'm a huge fan of you too. That is the most awkward thing you could say to a veteran who just got home after getting shot. But you also do realize that Dugan does mean that because, again, he wanted to go over there. He wanted to atone for what he did in his life. But it still does come across as kind of awkward.
Oh, yeah.
So what were your thoughts with the small reunion after the game and them eventually parting ways, mule and nag and whatnot?
Yeah, the scene where they're at the concession and they're walking out. They do two hugs. They do one hug and the camera's focusing on Dottie's face and her emotions. And then when they go back in for the second hug, they're focusing on Kit and her emotions and how you get to see both sides, how they're feeling. It's not just one side of the story really going on there. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see that Kit she has become her own person and has stepped out of her sister's shadow, as that's what they've been building up to the entire time, is that, Kit is more than her sister.
Yeah.
Her sister was just kind of a tool to show what Kit could become.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. That scene with them, the husband and Jimmy meeting, it's probably the most awkwardest thing in the entirety of the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's so out of left field, but it's also like, Jimmy doesn't know what to say. He's been on a bus with females for, I forget how long the season is, like 4 or 5 months at this point. And so he doesn't know how to talk to guys really anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, he really has lost his social structure with men.
Yeah. And yeah, the scene where the sisters are leaving and you hear the mule and the nag line again. And, even though Dottie should have went back to her husband, she gets on the bus. Yeah, and you get to watch her sister go away.
Get on the bus with Racine.
Yeah.
So then we return to the present. The present that you almost forgot existed because this movie is so freaking good. Forgot about this movie, underrated classic. Yeah, it really is, Norris. Yeah. And good to see you, Norris. And you then see May. She's like, "Hey, Doris," it's Doris. She's like, "Hey, May, come here." It can't be. What? Dottie? It's Dottie. Hey, Doris. And all these where they finally the reunion with all the original Peaches. Now they're older in the 90s. And you see just how much these characters look like each other. How well they cast these people. And like I said, as you said, I think they are the older ladies are the actual real ones.
Yeah, at least a portion of them were,
Oh,
because
yeah, a portion.
well, I can't remember how many they had said they got, but yeah, what the director wanted is, I mean, she wanted to
She
have
wanted to
them
have
in it.
authentic. She
Yeah.
wanted it to be authentic.
And I mean, the future scenes aren't so out of place that when you go back into the past, that it seems weird when they use them.
No, not at all. And then she meets up, or she sees Ellen Sue hasn't aged a day. She's like, Dottie, I married a plastic surgeon. I don't think that's plastic, miss. You age like a fine wine, Ellen Sue.
Right.
Because she kind of did. She looked freaking. The only thing that was different about her was that she had white hair and short hair. And then you see Marla, and she asks about Bob, and Bob passed just that winter. And she's like, I'm sorry, it's okay. And then they move into the Baseball Hall of Fame, where they are getting ready to do a ribbon cutting ceremony for the women's division. And they say that all of the women who played in the first season of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League are inducted in the Hall of Fame. All of them, because this is a historical moment. And the guy is about to cut the ribbon, and one of the women are like, no, this doesn't feel right. Mr. Lowenstein, you fought to keep the league going, so you do it. And you see that Ira is there, and he's like, ladies, it is my honor. And you see them going in, seeing all the things you see, but before they cut that, I just realized I forgot. Dottie is introduced to a man who's about middle age, and he's like, hello, Dottie, you remember? And she's not. You're gonna live. And it's Mark Holton, I believe, who plays him, who I did a mystery review in a movie he played in, which was Teen Wolf, where he played Chubbs. And he also plays in this movie, A League of Their Own, as an older Stillwell Angel. And she's like, where's your mom? Mom died a couple of years ago, but when I heard that this was happening, I felt I owed it to her to be here. And it sucks because Evelyn was one of the likable characters, you know? So then we see what became of Dugan, and a nice little part in the Hall of Fame for him. And you find out he passed away in 1987. And the song kicks up again. All the original ladies are singing the theme for the women's baseball. And that's when Kit comes in, an older Kit with her grandkids and her kids. And one of her grandkids, I could have sworn, looked a lot like Gina Davis, or a very, very young Gina Davis, you know? Like a freaking 14 or 15-year-old Gina Davis. But when they see each other, you just see how happy they are to see each other. And it's like, how many years went by before they saw each other last?
Right.
But it is such a touching scene. And then you get them taking another picture together of the original Peaches, which Kit was a part of until she got traded to Racine. So she was allowed in the picture as well. And they snap the pic, and it just translates to the younger versions and whatnot. But the montage after is actually the women at the real time playing baseball together, the real Rockford Peaches and the real members of the league. And I love how throughout the entire credits they rolled that authentic footage of them playing nowadays as older women. These women stayed in shape, folks. They still had such love for the game that they still played it. So, what were your thoughts about the return to present and reunion and credits?
Yeah, the return was great. Just getting to meet all the way May and wow, Roseanne's
Doris.
character
Doris.
Doris and Marla. And I love the way Marla comes up because the way you first met her, she was
Yep.
doing this.
She's
And Dottie's kind of like trying to place her because she can't exactly see her. Then she does, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Marla. Yeah.
Yeah. And then seeing still the part that got me was Stillwell, like
Yeah.
saying that his mom died. I was like, oh my gosh! And you're right, she was a likable character, and she was probably one of the sweetest ones that you got to meet throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again seeing Kit come in, and I love how Dottie had kind of a modest family that we got to see. Her
Mm-hmm.
daughter and her 2 grandkids. Well, Kit kind of has a much bigger family. Which she had been telling Dottie the whole time, like you can do all that. You can do all that
Plenty
somewhere
of
else
times to have kids.
Yeah. And so it's one of those endings that it's so hard to find anything wrong with it. I think you get a nice wrap up to the story. It ends on a high note, and it's just like I said, it's hard to say anything's really wrong with that ending.
No, there really isn't much.
And I especially like the credits at the end where they got the field placement of the girls next to the names as well.
Yeah, the cast roster.
Yeah, that was also another nice little touch they had.
Kept it baseball themed.
Yeah.
So, out of 10, what would you rate A League of Their Own?
Oh man, if I could separate the nostalgia part of it, because this movie was a very large part of my my life when it first came out, because my mom was a softball player, and this was just one of the movies that if it was ever on TV, we were watching it. Granted, I really wish I would have appreciated it more as a kid, because then I could appreciate it more now, but I do appreciate it quite a bit. But out of 10, I definitely have to say it's at least an 8 or a 9, probably closer to a 9, because there's just so much that it does right, and it's just such a fun movie, and the actors are so committed to their part, something that I don't feel we see a whole lot today.
No, we don't.
With acting. And
nowadays it's just too much of a job.
Yeah, but I mean, you have that great cast of Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Lori Petty, Madonna, Roseanne, and Madonna, who wasn't exactly an actor. She was a singer, but
which they actually used her song, or one of her songs, in this song, or at the end of the movie. This used to be my playground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but yeah, it is up there, and again, it holds up so well, I think, because it's a period piece movie that just it works,
Yeah. As for me, I always do 3 tiers, where it is objective without bias, subjective with bias, and moviegoer. Objectively, this movie is well done. There are continuity errors, there's logic errors, there's historical errors and whatnot. So, taking those into account, this movie does fall to about an 8. But when it comes to subjective, this movie is pure 10 for me. I enjoy it immensely. I love watching it. It's a feel-good story. This movie has great writing, great cast, great cinematography, great directing. This movie is high quality. So actually, I'll amend the objective and say it's more of an 8.5, because this movie does, while has its small flaws, does really deliver a great film and a great story. Showgoer or moviegoer, where I do not break it down, I go based on entertainment quality. This movie is about a 9. There are slight pacing issues where it's like, okay, these small little in-betweens are nice and all, but I really want to see more of the game and get to the meat of it, you know? So while there are, but for the most part, the movie is extremely fun to watch. It's a movie that is a great reminder of a historical moment in our time for our country. And it's something that people should never forget, of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And it went from 1943 to 1956. It survived 13 years. And I love how there was that one person. He's like, "Who is that?" "That's Dottie Henson, greatest player in the league." "I don't remember her." "That's because she only played for 1 year." And it really is a wonderful scene. And this movie just is so great in handling these things. So, folks, with that, that is going to conclude the guest choice review. Channel 66, give yourself a plug. Let people know where to find you and what kind of content you do for your channel.
I'm Matt. I am more or less the host of the Channel 66 YouTube channel, where I tend to do content on comic books, anime, and manga. And I do live streams on the weekend, mainly just to talk live with my followers. We do the had one today where I rig up a VTuber, if you know what that is. Basically just a cartoon character, and the camera follows my actions, and we watch YouTube videos and laugh at the silliness of the internet. Tomorrow I'll be doing another live stream with open mic, and anyone's willing, or if they're willing, they can come on, join, bring your own story, we can talk about it. Or I normally start off with something, normally what comics are coming out for the week, but I'm very open to segueing into other things. I think it was either last week or the week before, we were talking about I always mess up his name. Frank Frazzetti, the art of Frank Frazzetti, the guy who used to do, can't see that, used to do cover art for Conan, did art for movie posters and some other things. Let me see, where's my stupid there it is.
There, I made you full screen so you can share that thing. There you go.
So this is art that his daughter is doing, because I believe he has passed since. But yeah, so this is the new comic book that is going to be containing his art, and they're going to be writing a story, or I believe it's writing a story with it. But yeah, nice. Him and some other, I forget the other guy's name. But he did a lot of good art as well. Like we spent about 2 hours talking about that with another friend of mine, Eamon Fate, and Gap Stargate as well. He came on, and yeah, we just had fun talking about that. Wherever it's kind of just like, hey, let's have a conversation about something. So yeah,
nice. And if there is anybody in the chat who is a mod, try to leave a link to his channel, or you can look for his channel. I believe in the description of this stream is a link to his YouTube and to his Twitter. So yeah, folks, that's going to conclude it. So if you want to come on to guest choice reviews where you get to pick the time, the date, and the movie. The only thing that I choose is you're coming onto my channel. It's where we could discuss any movie that you could think of that I can have, or that within reason that I have access to, because I do have some limitations. But yes, if you want to discuss a movie and come onto my channel to do it, where you get to pick the time and the date and the movie, hit me up on Twitter and hit me up or on Facebook or even on YouTube in a comment section or anything. Let me know and we'll definitely make it happen. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to Channel 66. He's a great channel. He's got some good stuff. And hopefully he'll get up to his goals and whatnot. So definitely give him a sub. Anyway, folks, this has been Orange Hat Reviews and guest, Channel 66. Have a wonderful night. And always remember, stay humble.